Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This time the story continues along a familiar flow, yet it carries a very different feeling. It is no longer just about simple, everyday moments unfolding gently, but also a clear interweaving between a present that is gradually becoming stable, and a past that once seemed to have faded away, but is now beginning to show signs of returning. A past that is not loud, not appearing directly, yet still exists somewhere, quietly, like a part that has never truly been closed. And because of that, everything happening in the present, no matter how peaceful it seems, still carries a feeling that is hard to define. It is not an obvious worry, but neither is it complete peace of mind. In the present, the life of Tiểu San and little Ivy continues in a very simple way. There are no major changes, no sudden events, just days passing steadily with small repeated routines, yet enough to create a sense of stability. Simple meals prepared in a familiar space, gentle moments of comforting, when Ivy is still too young to fully understand the world around her. Those slightly clumsy, very natural moments of a child growing day by day. And beside all of that, is Tiểu San's patience. A kind of patience that doesn't need to be spoken, yet is clearly seen in every action, every glance, every moment she spends with her child. There is nothing grand, nothing surprising, but it is precisely that repetition that creates something very real. A feeling that anyone can recognize at a glance. Warmth, the warmth of a home, even if it is not perfect, even if many things are still unfinished. Yet it holds the most important elements. Home does not need to be large, does not need to be materially complete. As long as there is the presence of people who truly care for one another, it is enough to become a place to return to. And within that seemingly ordinary space, a new hope is slowly beginning to take shape. It does not appear clearly at first. It is not spoken aloud, but through small changes, it becomes evident that things are starting to move in a different direction. The land where the mother and child are living has been measured. Small markers have been placed. Boundaries are becoming clearer. All of these things are not large details, yet they carry a very clear meaning. A preparation, a beginning. A new house is gradually taking form from its very first steps. There are no visible structures yet. No walls, no roof, but the idea of it already exists. And more importantly, there is someone turning that idea into reality. The one behind it all is hoai. He does not appear in a showy way. He does not say things to attract attention. He does not make grand promises. Instead, he chooses to act in his own way, quietly, silently, yet firmly. Step by step, he arranges everything. Every small detail is carefully calculated, not to prove anything, but to ensure that what is being prepared will truly bring value. A better future is no longer just a thought. It is gradually becoming a concrete plan. And in that plan, it is not just about him. It includes Tiểu San. It includes little Ivy. It includes the people he holds most important. He does not need to say it, because through his actions everything becomes clear, that what he is striving for is not only for himself, but for those he wants to protect, for a more stable life, for a place that can truly be called home. And from that point, the present, which once seemed peaceful, begins to carry a subtle movement, not a sudden change, but a gradual transformation, little by little. Like the way everything is being built from the foundation, like the way a new journey is quietly beginning. And while all of this is unfolding, the past is still there, not gone, not fully closed, simply waiting for the right moment to return in a way no one can foresee. But just when everything seemed to be moving in the right direction, when the present was gradually becoming clearer, more stable, somewhere else, an entirely different story was quietly beginning. There was no warning, No obvious signs. Just a very subtle shift, yet enough to change everything that existed. A man, after many years, finally returned. Not a return filled with pride. Not an appearance meant to draw attention, but a return in silence, quietly just as he had once left. But this time, he did not carry the same carelessness. Instead, he carried only one thing: regret. A feeling that could not be seen, yet was present in every thought. Years ago, when a woman named Thoa was pregnant, when a new life was about to be born, he chose to leave, without a single explanation, without ever looking back, without leaving behind any trace of connection. He simply disappeared, leaving behind a woman and a child who had not yet been born. The emptiness he left behind was not just absence, but a void that could never truly be filled. For many years after that, he did not return, did not ask, did not search, did not take any responsibility he should have carried. Time passed. What had happened seemed to fade into the past. But in truth, time does not erase everything. It only turns the things left undone, the things left behind, into a growing weight of regret. A regret that cannot be avoided, cannot be denied, and cannot be undone, until one day, when those thoughts could no longer remain silent, he made a decision to return, not to explain what had happened, not to justify his past choices, but to find what he had left behind, to find a part of his life that he himself had abandoned. But finding it was not simple. There was no clear address, no complete information, only fragments of memory. And from that, he hired someone who could trace the faded footprints left behind by time. In the investigator's hands, there were only a few old photographs, faded by the years, a small amount of incomplete information, scattered details, difficult to connect, and one name, Mrs. Thoa. That was all. But the search began, step by step, slowly, carefully. First, it seemed like an ordinary job, a request to find someone. Nothing unusual. But the deeper he went, as more data was gathered, as the scattered pieces began to connect, the investigator started to realize this story was not as simple as he thought. Matching information, unexpected connections, leading him to a conclusion, one that made even him pause. The woman named Thoa was not a stranger. She was Hai's mother. In that moment, everything changed. This was no longer a routine search, no longer a simple task, because if that was true, then the man who had returned was Hai's biological father, a man who had disappeared from his life before Hai could even understand his own existence, a man who had never appeared in any memory, yet carried a bond that could not be changed. The investigator understood clearly. This information could not be delivered hastily. This was no longer about finding someone, but about a story that could affect many lives, that could change how someone sees their past, that could disrupt what had seemed stable. And so, he chose not to speak immediately, not to call and reveal everything, not to let the truth arrive suddenly. Instead, he decided to meet Hai, face to face, to tell him first, to give him time to prepare. Because some things, if they come too suddenly, are not easy to accept. He picked up the phone, called Hai. His voice was different, no longer casual as before, but carrying a clear seriousness. A meeting, a conversation that had to happen. But at that very moment, Hai was preparing to leave, not going far, but returning to his hometown, to pick up his mother. A very ordinary action, yet in this situation, it carried a different meaning. Coincidence? While the past was trying to return, present was moving toward the person who had always been there for him. The meeting could not happen as planned. There was no urgency, no pressure, just a quiet postponement. Let's meet on Monday. A short sentence. No explanation. Nothing more. Yet it held everything back. Held back a truth, not yet spoken. Held back a story, waiting for the right moment to unfold. And within that silence, everything seemed still. But in reality, everything was quietly shifting in a direction no one could foresee. On Hai's side, everything continues in a way that feels very familiar, steady, as if nothing around him is changing at all. His life moves forward with rhythms that have already become habits, from his daily work to the plans he is gradually completing. Everything is still operating exactly as he has arranged. He keeps working, still takes time to think, to calculate, to make sure every step is firm. It is neither rushed nor hesitant, but a balanced state where he clearly knows what he is doing and why. In his mind at this moment, the new house remains the most important thing. Not simply a place to live, but a beginning. Something that could change his current life in a better way. He thinks about every small detail, from how the space will be arranged to what needs to be prepared. Not to make everything perfect right away, but to build it step by step in the most sustainable way. And within all those thoughts, there is always the image of Tiểu San and Ivy. He still cares, still notices every small thing, still maintains the connection, even without saying too much. His care is not loud, but it is clearly present. In the way he acts, in the choices he makes, in the way he quietly includes them in his plans. Everything goes on as if nothing has happened. No signs, no intuition, nothing that makes him stop and question. Just a very normal present, very peaceful, very much like what he has always known. But within that normality, something else is quietly drawing closer, not rushing, not attracting attention, but step by step, closing the distance. A major truth, not in what he sees, not in what he thinks about, yet directly connected to him. Person who once left, who once disappeared, who never existed in any memory he has. That person now is trying to return, not through a direct appearance, not through a clear explanation, but through slow, careful steps, carrying a meaning far greater than it seems. And all of that is gradually moving toward Hai, while he still knows nothing. As for Tiểu San, life continues in a very gentle way. No disturbance. Nothing disrupts the familiar rhythm. Meals are still prepared every day. Small tasks are still carried out steadily. Trips to the garden to pick vegetables still happen like a habit. A simple habit, yet one that brings a very real feeling. Very close, very familiar. She continues living in that space, with things that are not grand, but enough to create stability. A stability that before, she might have struggled to have. In quiet moments, when there is not much to worry about, she sometimes thinks about the old house, a place that held memories, a place that witnessed so much. Now, it stands before change. Demolition is not something easy to accept immediately, even knowing it is necessary, even understanding that ahead lies something new, something better. The sense of hesitation still exists, not too clear, not too strong, but enough to make her pause for a moment, a very brief moment, yet filled with emotion. However, unlike before, she no longer feels uneasy, no longer feels like she must face everything alone, no longer feels isolated, because she knows, in the present, she is no longer alone. There is someone beside her, someone to share with, someone to continue forward together, and that has made everything feel lighter, more stable, more solid. But within that stability, a question begins to form, not for the present, but for what is about to come. When the truth is revealed, when what has been held back can no longer remain hidden, when Hai realizes that the person searching for his mother is the very person who once abandoned them, how will he react? Will he be able to accept that someone who never existed in his life suddenly appears? Will he be able to forgive a past he never had the chance to choose? Or will he keep his distance as a way to protect himself? Those questions have no answers right now. They cannot be predicted. They cannot be confirmed, because some things can only be understood when truly faced. Only when standing before the truth can one know what they will choose. The story, this point, has not ended, not because it lacks an ending, but because the journey is still continuing. What has not been spoken is still waiting. What has not been revealed is still being held back. And everything has only reached the threshold that once crossed may change everything. If you have followed the story this far, try placing yourself in Hai's position. There is no need to rush for an answer. Just feel it. Just think. If it were you, what would you do when the past and present suddenly collide? And don't forget, this journey is not over. What lies ahead will slowly unfold, piece by piece, in a way no one can predict. Stay with the story and continue this journey with me. See you in the next video.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình nhé. Nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến video về câu chuyện tình yêu của Tiểu San và Hải nha mọi người. Bây giờ thì mình vẫn chưa làm xong. Bây giờ thì mới đang bắt đầu làm thôi. Mình đang tìm cho video của mình một cái tiêu đề thật là hay để mọi người có thể nhấp vào ngay khi nhìn thấy. Nhưng mà thực ra thì mình cũng đang phân vân rất là nhiều, không biết là có hợp lý không. Mong rằng mọi người sẽ theo dõi kênh của mình, góp ý cho mình nhiều hơn